You ever have one of those days that flips your whole idea of ordinary right on its head? I mean the kind of day that starts with a plate smashing on the diner floor and ends with an army, no joke, an actual army, standing outside your door, all because you stood up for someone no one else even noticed. I still remember the sound of that plate, how it cracked against the tiles, the food scattering like confetti, the whole diner going dead quiet. And there I was, Clara James, just a waitress, 32, tired, working a double, not looking for trouble, stepping in front of an old man so thin you could practically see through him, like my apron could shield him from the shame or from the owner's glare. Outside, rain hammered the windows like it was trying to get in and drown us all, but I didn't move. I just looked Billy, my boss, the guy who ran that place, straight in the eye and said, "Then take it out of my tips." Didn't matter. He fired me on the spot. Yeah, that happened. And if you're wondering how I got to be the kind of person who'd do that, well, let me back up a sec. In Ridgefield, Kentucky, nobody really saw me. The factory had closed, the town was fading, and I fit right in. Always slipping between conversations, pouring coffee, wiping counters, wearing my brown apron like it was armor. People knew my name, but they never really asked about my life. Most days, I opened the diner before sunrise and closed it long after midnight, not because I loved the work, but because I needed it. Every shift paid for my tiny rented room, my one-eyed cat Smokey, and kept the landlord off my back. My parents? Gone years ago, swallowed up by their own storms. I grew up with my granddad, Henry, a Korean War vet with a limp and a sense of honor you could taste in the air. He taught me to keep my head high, to sweep the porch even if no one was coming, to do right by folks, even if nobody's watching. When he died 3 years ago, I didn't cry much. I just worked harder, holding on to the lessons he left me. Last month, my roommate bailed, left me with half a lease and a stack of overdue bills. So I dragged my suitcase and Smokey up the stairs above a garage, where the bathroom faucet screeched and my savings barely hit $60. I still got up at 5 a.m., still showed up for my shift, still smiled at the regulars, though the tips got smaller and the customers got rougher. If you asked around, folks would say I was quiet. What they meant was, I didn't complain when my shoes got soaked in coffee, didn't talk back to the cook, didn't raise a fuss when my paycheck came up light. But I noticed things, like which regulars looked lonelier each week, or how the new kid in the dish pit always wore long sleeves, even when it was hot. And I noticed the ones who came in just for a cup of water, folks who wouldn't meet your eyes, hoping to stay invisible. I knew that feeling. Some nights, I'd clutch my granddad's old dog tags and tell Smokey, "We're okay, we're still okay." But honestly, I was tired, soul tired, from always standing on the sidelines. Then came that stormy Tuesday. The diner was almost empty, just a few people pretending not to hear the ring. That's when he came in, a soaked, shivering man in a battered military coat. He paused at the door, looking more like a ghost than a customer, eyes scanning the room for permission to exist. He dragged his leg behind him, hands shaking as he pulled off his knit cap and clung to a little paper bag like it was his last possession on earth. I saw the army patch, faded but still there, and my heart just, well, it clenched, you know? He shuffled to a corner booth and didn't even sit, just stood there, holding onto the backrest for support. I grabbed a towel and walked over. "Evening," I said, trying to sound casual. "Can I get you something warm?" He kept his eyes on the floor. "Just hot water, ma'am. Maybe some bread if it's going to the trash." The way he said it, like asking for food was a crime, I'll never forget that. Back in the kitchen, I grabbed a plate of chicken and dumplings someone had sent back, added a chunk of bread, poured fresh coffee. Brought it to him like it was nothing. "This was sent back, still hot," I said. He stared at me, torn between hope and fear. "I can't pay," he whispered. "It's paid for," I told him, and left the coffee too. He looked at the tray like he'd never seen real food before. "You remind me of my wife," he murmured. "She believed everyone deserved warmth." For a second, I felt my granddad standing right beside me. Then Billy, the owner, saw what I was doing. He started marching over, scowl getting deeper with every step. He was a veteran, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He just wanted hot water and bread. Billy slammed his hand on the counter, loud enough to make the whole place flinch. "This ain't a charity," he barked. "I told you before, we don't serve beggars here." Then, with everyone watching, he fired me. Right there. Nobody stood up for me. Nobody thanked me. Not one person even made eye contact. I took off my apron, grabbed my bag, and walked out into the pouring rain, shoes filling with water, arms trembling but back straight, just like my granddad taught me. But as I stood there, breathless under the awning, the old man appeared again. "I saw what happened," he said, voice barely a whisper. "You didn't have to do that." He pressed his dog tag into my hand. Eli Turner. It read, "Serial faded. You saved a soul tonight, miss." Before I could answer, he vanished into the storm. That night, huddled in my freezing room with Smokey, the only light a street lamp outside, I stared at that dog tag, wondering if I'd made the right call. No job, no health insurance, rent due, but I felt lighter, stronger, like maybe doing right by someone was worth more than a paycheck. The next morning, everything exploded. Turns out, some teenager had filmed the whole thing. Video went viral. Clara James, the waitress who got fired for feeding a homeless vet. But instead of cheering, most people online just ripped me apart. Rules are rules. She was probably stealing. I applied for jobs all over town. Nobody would hire me. At one place, the manager said, "We can't risk the attention, honey. Nothing personal." So I wandered the town, broke and exhausted, dog tag heavy in my pocket. At the bus shelter, I saw Eli again, huddled under plastic, trying to sleep. I gave him the last half of my sandwich, wrapped in newspaper. "Thank you for remembering me," I whispered. What I didn't know was that something else was happening. The next day, right as dawn broke and the streets were empty, the rumble started. Not thunder, SUVs. One after another, black cars rolled into town, stopping outside the diner. Out stepped a man in a full army uniform, chest lined with medals, shoulders squared like he was carved from stone. Behind him, a line of soldiers, hundreds, forming a silent wall down the block. You couldn't have paid people not to watch. Even Billy, the owner, looked like he'd seen a ghost when Colonel Matthew Turner walked in, Eli's son. "You fired the woman who fed my father," he said, calm but cutting. "That man you called beggar? He saved my life in Iraq, carried me 3 miles under fire, shrapnel in his own leg. The Silver Star medal was in his hand, one Eli had pawned years ago to feed another family. This is his. And the woman you fired yesterday?" She reminded him what America used to feel like. The whole place went quiet. Then the soldiers parted as someone came to find me, dragged me out of my rented room, where I'd been hiding with Smokey. The crowd outside had swelled, camera phones everywhere, hashtags popping up in real time. When I walked up, 200 soldiers, all branches, raised their hands and saluted. Me, just a waitress. I thought I'd melt on the spot. Colonel Turner pressed the Silver Star into my hand. "My father wanted you to have this." I tried to protest, but he just smiled, sad and proud. "It's yours now." After that, everything changed. The diner closed down, suppliers stopped delivering, the staff quit, and Billy skipped town. But I didn't get bitter. Didn't go online, didn't give interviews. I just kept doing what I always did, quietly, without fuss. Only now, I had help. A veteran nonprofit hired me to manage a new community kitchen. Soldiers and townsfolk volunteered. The line outside grew, but so did the warmth inside. I kept Eli's dog tag and Silver Star in a box by my bed. It took time, but justice showed up, slow, steady, like morning sun creeping across a cold floor. 1 week later, this kid, maybe 8 years old, sandy hair, sneakers too big, walked in, holding $1 and a cookie. "I saw you in the video," he said, voice serious. "My grandpa was a soldier, too. He helped people. I want to help someone." He handed me the cookie and the $1. I knelt down and just put my hand over my heart, like those soldiers had done for me. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Eli Turner? He got a roof, regular care, visits from his son and young soldiers who wanted to hear his stories, not about wars overseas, but about the ones we fight here, every day, in plain sight. Some nights, I run my fingers over that dog tag and remember what my granddad said. "Honor isn't loud, Clara. It's quiet." In the end, most people moved on. The video faded, headlines scrolled away. But some remembered, not because I made a speech or marched or posted online, but because I did something when it mattered, even though no one was watching. So here's what I'm asking you. Yeah, you. How do you treat people when nobody's clapping? When there's no camera, no reward, just your own sense of right and wrong. In a world that feels colder every day, Maybe the real hero is the one who slides a warm plate across the table when no one else will. Have you ever stood up for someone when it cost you? Ever seen a quiet act of courage that changed everything? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about what honor means here, now for real. Because sometimes, the smallest kindness is the thing that shakes a whole town awake.